Fine then, I'll single-handedly save the world with my pop culture knowledge.
Flight 815 crash landed, but where there's weird jungle noises and a polar bear. What the fuck is going on over there? Helen
And Alex
will guide you through. If you've seen Lost 20 times,
or if you're brand new,
welcome to our show. It's
Dharma Fish Biscuits. Hello and welcome to Dharma Fish Biscuits, your new favourite Lost podcast.
We're your hosts, Helen and Alex. We're going episode by episode, spoiler free, bringing you all the hot takes no one ever asked for.
We are on Instagram at Dharma Fish Biscuits Pod. We are on TikTok at Dharma Fish Biscuits, or you can email us on dharmafishbiscuitspod@gmail.com.
And we also have a Patreon at patreon.com/dharmafishbiscuits. You can join for free. There are behind the scenes posts about each episode, putting some jingles up there. There's a bit of other bonus stuff, outtakes, and of course the spoilery version of the show.
Yes, we have both seen the full show, so during our conversations we might sometimes talk about spoilers, but we edit them out of these main feed episodes, so these episodes will be completely spoiler-free. However, if you have seen the full show, on our Patreon are the longer, uncensored episodes that include some little spoilery discussions as and when they come up.
Instead of going beat by beat, we aim to focus our discussion on the character the episode centres around, first in flashbacks and then on the island. Then we circle back to any other plot lines and miscellanea that we might have missed.
This week, we have our first Shannon and Boone episode. Season 1, episode 13, Hearts and Minds.
I'm really glad you introduced the episode that way, because one of the first things I was going to ask you was, are we calling this a Boone episode or a Shannon and Boone episode? Because you could go either way on that, I think.
I think actually it is a Boone episode. And that's because we do see completely Boone's side. We never see Shannon without Boone. We only ever see Boone without Shannon in the flashbacks. And also, I guess we'll talk about this when we get to the flashbacks, but we don't exactly know the story that is going on with Shannon.
That's true.
In the flashback.
I mean, can we just break the ice? We're obviously going to go in the order that we talked about. But like, the fucking your brother thing. I feel like it dominates anything you want to say about this episode. It just like hangs over all of it.
Yeah.
When I started watching the ep, I was like, does all of this happen all in the same episode? Are we going to find out that they fuck during this episode? Or am I going to have to sit on my hands about this for like another half a season or something? Thankfully, it's out there now. We can say it. Incest and domestic violence, most fucked up family on this island. That's including Jack's dead. Fucking your brother is actually bad.
Tell me if you hate this idea. I sort of want to just give like a plot summary of the flashback in its entirety and then just talk about our general thoughts of it.
Yep, go for it.
Okay, so Boone gets a call from Shannon. She is like scared, she's screaming, she's asking Boone for help, she's telling him that she's in Sydney. When he gets to Sydney, he meets Brian, her boyfriend, and Shannon shows a little bruise on her head and is like, I'll see you later, Boone. Boone goes to the police station. The police tell him they can't help because they don't have enough information and act like a massive dick. I have a lot of thoughts on this scene. Then Boone goes to see Brian and is like, I'll give you some money to leave Shannon. How much do you want? And Brian tells him he wants $50,000. So Boone writes him a check. Then Boone comes to rescue Shannon and take her away. Brian is still at the house. Boone realizes that Shannon set him up. Brian tells him that Shannon is just trying to get what she's owed because Boone's mother cut Shannon out of the will of her father. Brian starts beating Boone up. Boone leaves. Later, Shannon visits him in the hotel room, tells him that Brian took the money. He's gone. Then Shannon says, you know why you come to help me, Boone? Because you're in love with me. And then she kisses him, and they sleep together. And then afterwards, she's like, we're going to get home, and you're just going to tell your mum that you rescued me like you always do, and we'll go exactly back to how things were beforehand. This is our Shannon and Boone backstory.
Where to begin? Having rewatched season 1 to this point quite recently, as we have you seen the clues being dropped along the way that there was an element of sexual tension in their relationship? Because
not at all.
My memory of watching Lost was that they had this weird sexual tension the whole time. But on this rewatch, I've been like, no, they don't. They don't even. There's nothing of that until the end of last episode when he does the look.
It's fully sibling dynamic of petty arguments and squabbles and point scoring over each other like a brother and sister until, we got that really weird, ominous look from him at the end of the last episode.
And this is actually part of the reason why we've never been able to deploy the Shannon jingle, because it refers to sibling sexual tension. And I've just been like, there isn't any. There's just there's sibling dynamic, like you say.
Yeah.
Light sticks, privilege, hoops and strappy tops, climb a mountain in your flippy flops. Please go get some redemption and a bit less sibling sexual tension.
As a Shannon apologist,
sure,
I think that at first I was like, wow, this episode really does not paint her in a good light. None of this is good. And then I was thinking about it, and I was like, I'm leaving aside the incest, the calling Boone to get him to come, to set him up, to give some money. I was like, is that actually what she's doing? Because I was wondering whether perhaps Brian was being like, I think you should get your brother over and you should get him to give you some money. And all along his plan was to play a long con on Boone via Shannon to get money for himself.
Honestly, I like that take because it makes some things of the episode a lot easier to pass.
Yeah.
I think, and honestly, I'm a little dum-dum and I forget everything about the show, between every time I watch it. The bit with the domestic violence in their relationship, I get fooled by it every time.
Yeah.
Because it does kind of ring true, the way that they are around each other, the way that Brian is towards Boone. It does give that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
I'm going a bit back and forth on this. And the thing is, canonically, the show tells us that Shannon is pulling this trick, that she's done it before, that every time, Boone thinks she has this history of dating violent men, but actually every time this has happened before, it's been her doing the same thing, getting the money, getting what she feels she's owed. And we can't really rewrite that canon. But I think that there is the way that the relationship plays out and the way that Shannon is as well is it feels consistent with her character that she would end up in these relationships. We've talked loads about how she has so low self-esteem. No one has ever told her she's worth anything or good at anything, and so it would work, but the show is insistent on telling us no, that's not what happened.
Yeah.
I do have a bit of stuff about the very first flashback, which is only to say what a giant fucking red flag that Boone's girlfriend looks exactly like Shannon.
I did not even pick up on that, but you are completely right.
We've already talked about other stuff that I wanted to bring up, so my next thing is about the police.
I hated everything about this was so awful. The police officer saying, she's your sister. Why does she have a different name? Can we employ a modicum of critical thinking skills? There are a million reasons why they might have different names, including but not and the way he says, why does she have a different name? Is she married? Yes, she might be. That's completely plausible. Especially because Boone is there talking about her partner. How does this man know?
Yeah, this police officer is a fucking piece of shit. But I did find it very funny how he obviously treats Boone appallingly, and his behaviour towards a report of domestic violence is absolutely abysmal. But it's very funny how he has the line, "Oh, so she's your stepsister. No blood relation." Like, underline, we need you to remember this for later.
Oh, okay. At the time, I was just thinking, what a fucking stupid man. Like, does it matter if he's not a blood relation? He can still report domestic abuse. But I suppose it's to remind the audience they're not related by blood. It's okay if they have sex.
Here's my hot take about Police Guy. His response to this report is, I mean, he should be reported to some kind of internal police accountability structure. However, the police are also really shit on domestic violence. So many women who end up being murdered by their partners or ex-partners have had repeated contact with the police. They have reported their partner. They have, done the right thing, and they are not believed, or the case isn't taken serious enough, or the right evidence isn't collected, and just all of these like small individual failings add up to a huge structural problem.
Yeah.
That line where he says, like, we can't just go barging into people's apartments, unfortunately. We're the police, not the dating police.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's just the sort of like 2004 way of saying, oh, it's just a domestic, which...
Yeah. It's not good.
It's not good.
No. Who does appear in the background is Sawyer.
Yeah, what a joy to see our friend show up.
I mean, this also made me laugh when the police officer says, "See, if he was like that guy, then we could do something." I'm like, I don't think that's how it works either, my friend.
Yeah, hate that fucking guy. But always happy to see Sawyer, and it's nice that we get one of those moments where the storylines cross, and
yes,
at some point we'll see the other side of that.
Yeah. The last thing I want to talk about is the unfortunate final scene.
Yeah.
So they sleep together, but then I think Boone's reaction afterwards is interesting. And I do think that although we said there's no sexual tension built up in the prior 12 episodes, I think this does what a good flashback does, which is it does give us like a little bit of a key to unlock some of Boone's behaviors on the island. What we see with him in that very weird scene in the hotel room when he like is in the darkness and then she turns the light on and he's just staring, like he's naked and staring and looks sort of vulnerable, but is also has a lot of resentment. And when she tells him we're going to go back to how it was, and he says like it's all up to you. And there's that real feeling of resentment of she gets everything she wants, she always has. They only slept together because she I don't want to say she pressured him into it. She decided that it was going to happen. She came and said, you want to do this. And maybe he did, and maybe that is a whole other element, but it only happened at that moment because she came in, she started kissing him, and then him saying, oh, now it's over because you want it to be over. Then I think seeing everything that happens between them on the island, there is, he does have this resentment towards her, which I guess stems from this moment here, where he has suddenly realised that she will get what she wants at all times. Yeah. And he is sort of taking that out on her when they're on the island.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a sensible interpretation of what we see. I also had this thought about she knows that he has always been in love with her. She clearly feels some degree of attraction to him. Otherwise, why do this? And they are step siblings. They are not blood relations, as we've established. So I had the thought of imagine if the show had gone in the opposite way with this. Imagine if they had introduced them as a couple.
Oh my God. And then in flashbacks we
found out that they were siblings. Because that would be fucking insane. That would be so much crazier. But they could have done it, if the writers had known from the beginning that they were going to go in this direction with them, they could have done it, and they could have been like, oh, well, in the flashback, there's step siblings and they sleep together. And so when they crash on this deserted island, they realize we have a golden opportunity no one
to
has
be
any
away
reason
from
to
the
think we're
social
anything
norms.
other than a couple. Like, why
Yeah.
not try it out?
Oh my god.
Anyway, yeah, there's the parallel universe version of Lost, which would be significantly more fucked up.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
Should we
do we
leave
have
that?
anything else to say about
No.
Boone's flashback?
I have nothing else to say. I'm done.
Okay. Shall we go to the island?
Back to the island.
Oh, let's jump back to the present. Back to the island.
We start with an eye. Boone gets an eye. That's nice for him. Well done. Boone's watching Shannon and Saeed gives Shannon what I feel are some highly inappropriate heeled sandals. I don't think you can wear those on the beach, can you?
She'll find a way. Don't you worry.
So this is when Hurley comes up to Boone, and this is where we get a nice exposition bit from Hurley being like, hey, you haven't come back with any boar for ages. There's a lot of pieces being put together in this opening. So we get Boone is watching Shannon and Saeed. Shannon and Saeed are talking.
Flirting.
Boone is unhappy. There is no boar being hunted. Then Saeed comes to see Boone, and Boone's like, hey, stay away from Shannon. I thought it was really interesting that Saeed's response to this is he looks sort of bemused that Boone would dare to tell him.
What is Boone going to do about it? Literally. Have you met Saeed?
So yeah, then Locke comes and calls Boone away from Saeed and says they need to go. And Locke says he needs to put aside his differences with Saeed because I thought this was very interesting. Locke tells him that Saeed is very competent and we're gonna want him on our side.
Yeah, we don't want to make an enemy of him. This is the beginning of the end for me and Locke.
Oh no.
I was thinking about it because obviously it will get there. Locke does some fucking whack shit this episode.
Yeah.
But it's also knowing where his storyline is going from here on out. I was like, this might be where I part ways with Locke, just in general, just in terms of previously we've been able to establish him as a character who has a certain amount of mysticism. He's kind of tapped into the supernatural elements of the island. He has really useful practical skills. There's been things about him that you can objectively appreciate and be like, he's a good guy to have around.
Yeah.
And this, starting with the way he talks about Saeed, which pays off later when he goes to see Saeed and is making nice with him.
Yeah.
And I was like, you fucking manipulative. There's such dishonesty in the way that he is with people, and it's just about using them to meet his ends. And that's before he even fucking ties up and goops Boone. This is just basic talking to people stuff. The way he is with Jack at the end as well. I was just like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna come back around to Locke.
Oh, that's very sad. I love Locke. I will say I didn't like him in this episode, and I don't know if it's a one-off of this episode or whether on this watch I'm going to start to have different feelings, or whether it's just the gear change that it feels as though in this episode they've suddenly ratcheted up his mysticism.
Unfortunately, at the end of the episode, he is kind of proven right, because Boone does have the reflection about Shannon and realize that it's time to let go. He is given an experience that he did need in order to make his experience on the island better. And it really bothers me that the episode tells us Locke was right to do that.
Yeah.
In a way. I don't think we're expected to be fully on his side, but the outcome of all of that is it would lead somewhere good. And to me, that is wild.
I guess. Shall we talk about this when we get to the final scene?
Let's talk about when we get there. You know when Boone and Locke are sat around the hatch and they're just staring at the hatch?
Yeah.
Did you notice that Locke is already preparing the goop at this early stage?
Yes.
This guy's a fucking psycho. Before Boone has said anything about wanting to tell Shannon about all of the questions that they've been getting, he hasn't raised any of this to Locke yet, and Locke is already like, well, better prepare this hallucinogenic so I can give Boone the experience he needs to be my second in command.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yes, that is crazy.
It just really speaks to Locke being on another level of how manipulative and controlling he's being of this situation.
Disconnected from the reality, we might say.
Yeah, I was also thinking, when we had the conversation in Walkabout about to what degree it was reasonable that Locke expected the Walkabout company to make accommodations for him versus to what degree he should be adjusting to his own circumstances.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that a lot in the wake of watching this episode, and how it's kind of the core Locke story in a way is, am I delusional or am I special? I've been thinking a lot about Locke, and the idea of Locke as delusional basically is on my mind. I think it's going to be an interesting lens to view Locke through as we progress.
Yeah, I agree. Boone tells Locke he wants to tell Shannon about the hatch, which I don't really know why. I get that, like, in the morning she was saying, what are you even doing? Why are you out there? But we've not really seen Shannon and Boone actually have a close relationship. She doesn't seem like she's going to have anything to contribute to the opening of the hatch.
Oh, no, not
and it
at
just
all.
seemed like, apart from trying to get this vision quest to happen, it doesn't really seem... I don't buy the fact that he would want to tell Shannon.
He literally, like, even when he's justifying it to Locke, all he says is, "Oh, fuck, I need to get her off my back. She keeps asking questions. It's really annoying," basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't actually think it through.
No.
Here's a piece of dialogue from the show. Boone, she's my sister. Locke, why do you care about her so much? Only child, are you, Locke? Seems psychotic.
That's very funny. Yeah, Locke is not happy about him wanting to tell Shannon. He hits him on the head and knocks him out in one fell swoop.
He boops him and goops him. Yeah, I can't help thinking that based on Locke's behaviour in this episode, hitting Boone over the head, tying him up in some kind of torture rope shibari situation, and then like drugging him with hallucinogenics. I just think that we should all remember this and bring it with us as we go into the rest of the season and the rest of the show. And like, if you're ever tempted to think Locke is a sensible guy, just remember that this happened.
Okay. Saeed also did do some torturing, but...
This is honestly worse.
A hot take.
It is a hot take, I suppose, because, I mean, I'm gonna step out on a ledge and say torturing is also very bad.
Wow.
But the torturing in their minds, in Jack and Saeed's minds, the justification for the torturing was that, like, a woman's life was actively at risk if they didn't get the medicine they needed, and they thought so was the person who had access to the medicine. Locke is doing this to assert control over Boone. He's doing it out of purely, like, psychological manipulation reasons, and that is so fucking psychotic.
Yeah. But to play devil's advocate, at least what we're being told, is that Locke does genuinely think this is, like, what is overall best for the big picture. He genuinely believes that the hatch is important. We need to get in the hatch. Boone is psychologically blocked from being able to get in the hatch. It'll be for the best for Boone if he is able to move through the psychological block that Shannon is providing for him.
Yes, and he is making Boone more susceptible to doing whatever Locke deems to be the course of action that is needed. I literally just finished reading or listening an audiobook to a book about a religious cult, and I'm seeing a bit of similarity, a bit of recognition here in the way that the dynamic between Locke and Boone plays out.
Yeah. Well, Boone wakes up he's tied up in this very convoluted way. I don't know. This doesn't make any sense to me. He's tied up, and Locke throws a knife at him, first of all, that lands in the ground, just far enough away that Boone can't quite get it. But Locke tells him that he'll be able to reach the knife when he has the proper motivation. Are we supposed to believe that Boone is actually tied up for this entire time, and he just frees himself when he thinks Shannon is dead and goes immediately to find Locke? Or do you think he does actually get the knife when we see him get the knife, and he's just running around the jungle by himself?
100% option 2. I think that it's the presence of Shannon is a hallucination, and or hearing her scream, seeing her tied up, all of that, it's all just he's hallucinating it all. He is literally running around the island on his own.
But he's running,
shouting and screaming.
Like, when rewatching it, I was thinking about it, because the point of this hallucinogenic journey from Locke's perspective is for Boone to realize that he needs to move past Shannon. So that's why I was wondering whether the entire thing was a hallucination, and it's only when he thinks Shannon is dead, when he thinks he's ready to move on past Shannon, that's when he's able to get the knife and cut himself free.
I don't think the episode gives us any reason to think that. I mean, we see him really strain and reach for the knife and cut his ropes and stuff, and he does that when he hears Shannon.
Yeah, I hate his face when he's straining to get the knife.
Tell
It's
me about
also
it.
like, I don't know why he's got like one hand by his
very uncomfortable
back
to
and
watch,
one hand
like,
by his neck, and it's just
it's
awful.
Terrible. So you know how Locke has that line that you mentioned about you'll be able to reach the knife when you have the proper motivation.
Yeah.
I really tied that back to his work with Charlie. And the way he was like, oh, you're like the moth in the cocoon. I could make a hole, but then you wouldn't have the strength to... And I was like, he basically took his like moth thing, workshopped it. He was like, what else can I do on this topic? How can I build this into a business idea? How can I be, motivational, maybe like a motivational torturer? I feel like it was, in a sense, it was believable, because it was like the two things come from the same place. This thing of like, oh, I'm going to help you. You don't understand or appreciate the way that I'm going to help you. But trust me, once it's all over, you'll thank me for it. I was like, I just think you took it too far with the tying up and the gooping and the knife.
I think you're right. And actually, this does sort of help me draw the lines of Locke's arc a little bit cleaner for me. But anyway, Shannon is screaming. Boone runs away and finds her. Yeah,
I found the whole Shannon tied up monster coming to attack them stuff quite believable. Like, there was that moment when I was like, I don't remember this happening. Does this happen? And then obviously it continued and she dies. I was like, no, this doesn't happen. But it is believable. It kind of doesn't make sense, because it's like, well, why would she be randomly in the jungle? But then it's also like, you can't put anything past Locke. Like, we, the audience, also have this view of Locke that like, well, he seems to be able to achieve things that are simply impossible. So maybe he achieved this thing that seems impossible.
But also, I don't think it is impossible.
I think I was intrigued by the way that it sits on a sort of boundary between like, it does make sense, but also it doesn't make sense. And I guess that's very appropriate for a hallucination scene.
Yeah. I really liked the monster bits in this.
Isn't it crazy that this is Boone's vision, and yet like he imagines the monster canonically accurately? He's never seen the monster, and yet.
Yeah, this feels like the most we see of it, because we do actually get a little, as it like shoots out of the ground.
Well, we see the shadow moving, and it's like, oh, that gives us new information.
Yeah, when we see it shoot out of the ground, there is like a little
CGI
cloud that like comes out of the ground, which obviously it's really quick, so you can't see if there's anything else around it, but it is there. And also the fact it like, we see it lift Shannon up. Admittedly, we don't see it, but we see Shannon's feet like fly up in the air. So like previously we've seen it rip the pilot out of the window, but we've not seen what really happens. And now we can actually see, oh, it can just swoop people up off the ground. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is true. It's all new information.
Yeah.
Hallucinated
Anyway,
Shannon is, like you say, swept up off the ground by the monster and then plopped back down by a body of water in a
yeah.
simply horrible condition. She's all
Eviscerated,
gouged
you
and
might
ripped
say.
up. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
obviously I was watching this with my partner who hasn't seen Lost, so I was keeping a poker face.
Oh,
But
did he buy into it?
No, he was like, she's not. Is she really dead? She's not really dead, is she?
Literally, the second Locke put that stuff on Boone's head, Connor was like, "Oh, this is a hallucinogen," and then Boone woke up and he was like, "This is all a dream."
Oh,
okay.
well done, Connor. But I have to say, even as much as I was like trying to buy into the moment and trying to at least react in a way that felt like it could have been real, I felt quite unmoved by her non-death. I feel like I had a bigger emotional reaction to seeing Charlie strung up by his neck the other day.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's interesting that this is the second time in quite a short space of time that they've tried to do a fake out death on us. And I really do think they went a lot harder with Charlie.
Yeah.
I wonder if maybe that's because they had already done it with Charlie's. They thought we can't pull too hard on it this time, or whether it's because they thought the audience would be more attached to Charlie and it would be sort of easier to get an emotional reaction based on him dying as opposed to Shannon, who I don't think we're supposed to like very much. I also think we cannot underestimate the power of filmmaking to play with our emotions as well. And I think that Charlie's death, the music was there. We see Kate sobbing. You see Jack so
the music
desperate
was
to bring
there.
him back to life.
I didn't notice the music at all, and the scene of her quote unquote death. And I feel like it should have stuck out to me as being like an incredible Giacchino moment.
Yeah, I think I don't remember the music that was playing, so I can't say for sure that it wasn't the life and death theme. But it certainly wasn't swelling as much. We didn't, although Boone is sad and upset about it, he's not like quite as viscerally, emotionally moved. And I also think that when the whole situation does feel slightly odd, and I think even if you don't know that it's a dream and you're watching it for the first time, there's something that does feel a little bit off about it that does stop you from fully buying into it.
Yeah, you said something there about Boone isn't really giving us the emotional reaction either that, like, for example, Kate gave us when we thought Charlie was dead. And it occurred to me that, like, as he's being asked to do quite a difficult piece of acting, because what he says to Locke afterwards is that he feels when he found out she was dead, that he felt relieved. He felt relieved.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that I can see how that would be a real challenge to act your reaction to your sister's death and the grief and the shock and the loss, and also try and put an element in there that is a mixed feelings, that is a kind of uncomfortable feeling of relief.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think for me, what I got as the main emotion from him was more anger towards Locke, which I think does track with both of these things, like anger about Shannon's death, but also like displacing his relief by being like, you forced me to confront this feeling, therefore I'm still like, either way it all results in anger towards Locke.
But at the end of the episode, I think he's more convinced than ever that Locke is a sort of worthy spiritual leader for him.
So this is what I wanted to get to when you were talking earlier about how we posit Locke, like the episode posits Locke as being right about this, that it does end on quite a dark note, and it's not as though Boone has seen the light and now he's happy and carefree. It ends quite ominously, and he follows Locke into the jungle. And I don't know if we are supposed... Obviously, we're supposed to understand that Locke has sort of removed this block of Shannon, but I don't know if we're supposed to believe that that is a good thing for him, because the way it's filmed at night, just with like the firelight, gives it this really shadowy feeling, and it's quite dark and ominous string music that's playing in the background, and then they say, well, it's time to go, and he's following him into the darkness. I do actually think we're perhaps supposed to think, okay, Locke has changed Boone's mentality, but is it for the good?
That's good. That's actually a really good catch, that like they're walking into darkness. That should be a clear signal to us as the audience that this is the beginning of some kind of downfall. This is not going in a positive direction.
Yeah.
We're halfway through the podcast. We talk a lot, we know. Why not take this time to write a review? It helps more people find the show. Or pop us a little email, or simply tell a friend. We're gonna need some listeners if we're to make it from the pilot to the end.
Shall we talk about some miscellaneous other things that happen on the island?
Yes, please.
Elsewhere on the island, Jack is
Stalking
spying
Kate.
on... Jack is stalking Kate. I hate this. It's awful. And then he's like, oh, I wasn't hiding. But, like, sorry, why
Yes, you
was
fucking
he
were.
staring at her through the bushes? I don't want to disturb whatever you're doing. Like, I don't think he would have disturbed her. And also, if you didn't want to be there, just go away.
This girl cannot get a break. You know, we had Sawyer spying on her the other day as well. You bring up the fact that he says, I didn't want to disturb you from whatever you were doing. To which Kate says, it's not like it's a secret. Hard to tell with you sometimes. This guy is like a dog with a bone. He just cannot let it go. Every opportunity, he's going to say something to Kate about how she's so deceitful and so secretive. It's like, my guy, can you simply not?
I hate it. I hate
Hit the
him.
jingle.
If Jack has no haters, I'm dead.
Okay, so she's actually looking for seeds, and then she takes him to Sun's garden.
New location unlocked. Sun's garden.
While Jack is talking to Kate and Sun, this means that we have 3 people in the scene, Helen.
3 characters in a scene. You know what that means. It's time for fuck, marry, or kill. Fuck, marry, or kill.
I feel like this should come to me very easily. It's marry Sun. It's fuck Kate. It's kill Jack.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Cool.
This is incredibly wholesome, and I love it.
I mean, Kate and Sun, one true pairing. They belong together.
They do have this interesting little exchange about Locke as well, because they discuss how we might need some because we're not getting any boar anytime soon. And Kate brings up the idea that maybe it's not that they can't get any boar. Maybe Locke is deliberately not bringing any boar back because there are a lot of mouths to feed. And I just think it's interesting. Obviously, we know it's not exactly the truth. The reason they don't have any boar is because they've been staring at the hatch instead. But it's interesting that Kate is onto this, and instead of... she's recognizing that, no, Locke is good at hunting and knows what he's doing, and also potentially recognizes this streak in him that is not necessarily self-servicing, but he is looking after the needs that he deems to be important.
Very true. Yeah, I found it really interesting. I found it interesting that in general that Kate is thinking about Locke that way, and that she feels comfortable expressing that to Jack, because...
yeah.
I mean, to be fair, Jack and Locke, they haven't always seen eye to eye thus far in the show, but they do have that little moment later when Locke purports to open up to Jack.
Yeah.
They have, and you know, he specifically says, Jack, like, is this between us? And Jack goes, always, in a way that feels very genuine. It felt like a risk on her part to talk that way.
Yeah, I think so. But I do think that the show at least is leading us to believe that Jack and Kate do have some sort of closeness and bond.
Yeah, they have a connection, for sure.
Yes, yeah, there is a connection between them.
I'm really grateful for the fact that they establish that they've been there for over 3 weeks.
Yes.
I'm always looking for these little these little things to latch onto to tell us how much time has passed. It's really helpful from a storytelling point of view.
So it will have been my birthday on the island.
Oh, happy birthday!
Happy birthday, me. Thank you.
I made you a sandcastle.
Oh, thanks. And then it got washed away.
Sure did.
So Kate's just speaking out loud to Sun, who she doesn't think understands her, which does make you wonder if she thinks Sun can't understand her. Why does she continue to lie? But also, why does she lie in this really convoluted way of saying she was on her way to...
True.
I was on my way to Bali, then somehow I ended up on a plane to LA.
Yeah, it's a very good point. If she thinks Sun doesn't understand her, then why lie? She kind of reacts a bit too much to something that Kate says, and then Kate's like, you heard me, you understood what I said, you speak English. And Sun's like, fuck, the jig is up. All right, you got me, I do speak English, I have been hiding it this whole time. And, you know, they have, over the course of a couple of scenes over the rest of the episode, they have their thing where Kate's like, but why can't you tell Jin? Like, you hid it before, but why can't you tell him now? And of course, Sun has the comeback, have you never lied to a man you loved? I was like, well, I mean, that's very generic, but
yeah,
obviously it hits hard for Kate. It taps into something in her backstory.
Yeah. Sun also tells her that Michael is the only person that knows.
Yeah, and Kate's just like, I don't question that.
Like, I'd be like, sorry, this man who you've not really had an awful lot of interaction with, why does he know?
Yeah,
How
I
does he
really
know?
liked the implication that Sun was like, no one else knows, only Michael. And Kate was like, sure, you're bestie.
But then by the end of the episode, after Jin gives Hurley a fish, then Sun holds his hand and they have a nice little happy moment, and Kate is smiling at them and she's like, oh yeah, I guess they do love each other, so I shouldn't tell him that she's lying.
To do for her to keep this from him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we go to Jin maybe? Jin and Hurley.
Yeah, let's go to Hurley Gate. I actually really enjoyed this, mostly because I thought it was incredibly funny.
Yeah, oh, thank God for all the comic relief from Hurley this episode.
Yeah.
It was very funny. Imagine being on an island for 3 weeks and basically only eating fruit. Oh my God. The shits you would be shitting.
So this is the issue. Hurley tells Jack that he's having some digestive issues and reels off this long list of fruits that he's been eating. And Jack is like, yeah, you need some protein. That's why you're shitting like that. Incredibly funny when he's picking out some leaves and Jack's like, I wouldn't eat those.
Are you?
He's like, these aren't for eating. I hadn't really thought about this, but I suppose it is actually a truly awful place to be having digestive issues, to like,
oh yeah,
just be running into the jungle, and like, who knows who else is running around the jungle at any point. I guess, would you map out a part of the island to be like, this is what we're going to use as a bathroom, or are people just literally going into the jungle and squatting wherever they feel like it?
You raised a really good point, because I feel like
I can't decide which of those is worse.
No, I think for everyone's sake, there has to be a designated toilet area. It could be quite a large area. But it's going to be bad either way. And I think it's better to know that here is where the danger zone is than to be walking around and constantly stepping in, like... I mean, okay, the way to shit in the wild is to dig a hole, shit in the hole, cover it up. But there's still the risk, isn't there? It's still not nice.
No. But if it's all in one place...
Then
like,
what if you open... What
I'm
if
sure
you dig a
you've-
hole and you just dig into someone's shit? Is that what you were going to say?
I know, I was going to say, I'm sure you've been to a festival, and like festival long drop toilets where you just like shit into a hole and they just sort of sit there after a weekend at a festival. That is absolutely vile to be in. I dread to think what that would be like after 3 weeks of these people on the island.
I think that's quite enough of that.
Also, Jack just laughs at her as Hurley like runs off into the woods with his leaves. Jack is laughing, and that's very sad. But anyway, Hurley goes to Jin and asks him where he got the fish, and he's got his own spear, and he's like, it's fine, I'm going to do it myself, just tell me where I can do it. So he follows Jin to the beach, and he can't get any fish, and he's like, fuck this, I'm leaving. And as he goes, he stands on an urchin, and this, I think, is my favourite scene of Lost to date. When he...
The pee on it scene.
It's like, you had a gangrene, you understand amputation, and then the way he like falls on the sand, and then it's like, you need to pee on it, and it's like pointing at Jin's crotch, and then Jin's just like, no, no.
It was a real comedy moment for both of them. The way that like Jin is like, I don't speak English, but I know enough to say no.
I didn't understand. So Jin brings him something in this shell, And Hurley's like, all right, I get it. I eat this and you give me a fish. And I'm like, I don't think that is what would happen, because that's seems like quite a complex trade system for Jin to have instigated with no real communication between them.
Yeah,
and I don't know why Hurley thinks that's what...
that would be what would be happening.
No.
But I suppose, I mean, maybe the truth is that Jin actually is feeling a bit sore about the fact that Hurley didn't accept the urchin off of him the other time.
Maybe.
And he's like, this is how you make it up to me. You got to eat this.
Yeah. But then Hurley eats it and immediately throws up.
Yeah, that was a shame.
Like,
shame for him.
What's the point in any of this?
I thought that was good because it was kind of subverting expectations of like, this is Hurley's chance to make it up to him and actually show him that like, yeah, I'll eat the food that you bring me. But then he actually can't stomach it and throws it up anyway.
Yeah.
And he does get the fish in the end.
Yeah, so then at the end,
and he's
Jin
even
brings him
cleaned
the
it for
fish.
him. Now they're best buddies.
Yeah, I love that. Also, it's really nice to actually see a positive side of Jin, because I think we talked about this after we had the flashback. We saw a more sympathetic side of Jin in his flashback, but then on the island, he was still very much just the angry man who didn't want to talk to anyone.
He has been slightly softening up, but yeah, this is definitely turning over a new leaf for our boy Jin.
Yeah.
Next up, what?
We've got a few small little scenes. So we've got Saeed and his compass. He is magnetizing a compass, and this is like a brief Connor's Corner because I feel like it makes sense to explain it here. I didn't understand how this works, but apparently if you rub metal upon a magnet and then put it in water, it will magnetize the iron. So
I feel like that's something we did in primary school, no?
Well, I didn't, Helen. Or if I did, I've forgotten about it in the intervening 20 years.
Or when we were a wee below, if we had Locke.
Well, yes. Anyway, Saeed's doing this, and then Locke comes and gives him an actual compass. And when they have this conversation that you talked about before, I didn't understand this dynamic, and I guess your comments earlier sort of give it some frame of reference, maybe, in that Locke's trying to forge this connection, but he says, "Oh, I wasn't the most popular kid," and Saeed just stares at him until Locke is like, "Well, I'll be going, bye."
Yeah, so Locke has a very clear idea of what he's trying to get out of this interaction. He's like, we need to keep Saeed on our side. We need to kind of like build a bit of a relationship there. We don't want him as an enemy. We need him to be on our side of things. And Saeed has his own agenda, which is like, I'm looking out for myself and this spooky place. And Saeed also doesn't necessarily have a reason to be suspicious of Locke prior to the compass thing, but I think he's just guarded. He's cautious about trusting people and building relationships, and also maybe giving him too much credit, but I love Saeed. I also think he's good at like seeing through people and seeing when someone is just trying to play him or just trying to disingenuously build a relationship to him.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
I found it interesting that when Saeed shows the compass to Jack and talks to him about it, he says, this compass is clearly faulty. And this essentially implies that like Locke must have a hidden agenda in giving Saeed a faulty compass. Do you agree?
That's interesting.
Is that not how you read it?
That's not how I read it. I read it. Well, I found it quite hard to read. So yeah, Saeed comes up to Jack and says, which way is north? And Jack does his like, well, the sun sets here, so that's east or west.
West, so Alex, dear God. You're not surviving one day on the island.
I know. What's a compass? Where does the sun set? I don't know. So Saeed says, oh, where's north? And Jack works out based on the sunset, this is north. And Saeed says, correct. According to this compass, though, this is north. And then Jack says, what does that mean? And Saeed just says, well, the compass is obviously defective. I took that to be, we're lampshading that there's something going on here. Some sort of
spooky
magnetic. And although Saeed says a magnetic anomaly might explain a variance of a couple of degrees, but not this. And what I took that to mean is, right, a normal, quote unquote normal magnetic anomaly would be a couple of degrees, but something is massively off here. That means there's something very strange happening. And I took it to be that what they were saying was there's something strange about the island, but then Jack and Saeed are sort of, because they've got that knowing look between them when Saeed says, the compass is obviously defective, as though he's sort of challenging Jack to be like, it's defective,
Are
isn't
either of us
it?
going to say what we're really thinking?
And yeah, they're both thinking something weird is going on, but neither of them are saying it. But then I did think it was kind of weird that the fact that neither of them says it, we just sort of leave it there. I was like, that feels a bit weird, and it feels like really what it is the writers sort of playing a long game to be like, we'll start hinting at something for us to explore at a later date. But yeah, that's how I read it, is that they both know that obviously the compass is not that defective.
I think possibly you should rewatch that scene, because I mean, I really took away from it that Saeed was expressing to Jack that he was suspicious of Locke. And in fact, the note that I made about it was, I'm surprised they don't go towards the mystical island shit, because that's to me as a viewer of Lost is the obvious place to go when you say, oh, something's really off here. Why is the compass saying north is here when it should be here? Like, as Lost viewers, we're like, there must be some spooky island shit going on. I wonder whether the conversation between them and making it a thing to be suspicious of Locke about is just there to introduce more uncertainty into that. Because if they were saying, oh, what if there's some weird spooky shit around the island, then that makes it too easy for us as the viewer to like go down that path. Whereas if the show is kind of telling us two different things at the same time, then there's more ambiguity and there's more like room for theorizing.
Yeah, you're right. I hadn't really paid attention, but you're right. He does, like, when Saeed says it's defective, Jack asks him where he got it, and that's when he says, oh, Locke gave it to me. So I guess you're right. It could all just be there to throw more suspicion on Locke. But yeah, that didn't even cross my mind when I watched it. So then Jack goes to find Locke, and they have their little sit down on the beach together.
Jack, so Locke is just staring out at the ocean. Jack comes to sit next to him and he says, any ships? Locke says, not yet, but I am patient. The hallmark of a good leader.
The hallmark of a good leader.
This is going to be one of those things that I will just constantly bring up throughout the show. No, but I was like, interesting that they chose to have him say that about himself when he has also said that patience is the hallmark of a good leader.
Yeah.
I think that's giving us I think that's telling us something important. I was thinking about the bit where Jack also asks him about the boar. He's like the third person today to ask about the boar. And Locke says, but between us, and Jack says, always, previously referenced. And I can't figure out, is he just flat out lying to Jack's face, or is he not? He says
so
that,
I think this is...
He says that, I think the boar are migrating away from the valley. They're smart animals. They can tell when a new predator's moved in. And I was like, I mean, that would make sense. They probably are smart animals. Like, maybe this is true. And it's just very convenient.
Yeah. So I think the best lie contains a grain of the truth. As a wise person once said. Thank you. So I think whether it's true or not, it's very feasible. So it's possible that all the boar have gone, and Locke is like, yeah, I don't need to make up anything. I just felt
quite strongly that I wanted to know for myself, is he lying to Jack's face here or not? And I don't get the satisfaction of knowing that because I don't know about boar. But it makes it a really interesting character moment, because if Locke is lying to Jack's face in that kind of shameless way, it says a lot about... It's just another case of him manipulating the people around him to serve his own interests. But maybe it's also true, and in that case, it's not. I just... Yeah. That was kind of all I had to say about that.
Okay, great. So then we have this really interesting scene that I really liked between Jack and Charlie. And Charlie...
It gives real value for money, this scene.
Yeah. Jack gives him some aspirin. I don't think that's the cure for heroin withdrawal, but fine.
Take what you've got. You know, the Jack pharmacy is currently dispensing aspirin.
Well, Jack asks him what he thinks of Locke, and I love Charlie. He tells him he's an absolute freak of nature. He's highly disturbed. But then Jack asks if he trusts him, and Charlie says, if there's one person on this island I would put my absolute faith in to save us all, it would be John Locke. And this is so fascinating.
I feel like that kind of encapsulates the appeal, Locke's mystical appeal to those who he manages to convince. They see him as being this person who contains mystical wisdom or contains some kind of unearthly wisdom that no one else is even close to accessing. I mean, Boone says it to hallucinated Shannon when he's hallucinating her and telling her the sort of like background to what's going on. He says like he's the only person here who even understands the tiniest amount of what's going on this island. You know, this like elevated special status that Locke has in the minds of the people that he puts through his challenges, shall we say? Yeah, it is cult
I think it's
adjacent.
interesting as well, thinking about what you said about likening it to a religious cult and religion. That's really interesting to look at through this lens here, because like you say, Charlie is the other person that Locke has taken under his wing and like put through this trial to get over his drugs. And yeah, he's saying, putting his faith in someone to save us all is this very sort of Christ-like language.
Yep.
And it does have real religious connotations to it. I do like the fact that he says all that after saying he's a freak of nature, he's highly disturbed, and that does, like, it just, this whole thing epitomizes Locke in one tiny exchange of dialogue, that the people who are with him don't like him personally necessarily, and they can still recognize that as a person he is very weird, but he's got something about him. We can't deny that he's gonna save us.
Yeah, and the funny thing is about Charlie saying, if there's one person who would save us all, it would be John Locke. John Locke, can never just call him John. Locke has more of a vested interest on staying on the island than anyone else that we know of.
That is true. And obviously none of the other survivors
They don't know.
realize that. They don't know that. But actually they're thinking that his knowledge of the island is going to help them survive and leave.
Yeah.
When actually he is more interested in survive to remain.
Yeah. Shall we move on to a Connor's Corner?
We can. It's incredibly small.
If you want aviation or medical information, welcome to Connor's Corner.
The only real comment he had was about the hatch door and the fact that there was no handle on it. He was like, if there's no handle, that probably means that it's an exit. And or if it's like a nuclear military bunker, if someone has to be inside at all times, then you need to have someone in there to let you back in when you come back.
Very insightful, Connor. That's crazy that Connor thought of that, and Locke and Boone, who've been sat out there for 4 days, have never even thought that.
Yeah. Also, you would not use aspirin to treat heroin withdrawal.
What would you use to treat heroin withdrawal if you were on a deserted island?
I don't know. I'm afraid I didn't actually ask him that.
Hot ranking?
Yeah, let's rank some people.
Hot can be physical, hot can be emotional. Hot is whatever we decide, and everyone's attractive, but who's top of the ranking? Who's the hottest one on this island?
I am delighted to be able to introduce to the hot ranking for the first time my baby boy, my most beloved.
Ooh.
Top of the hot ranking, always in my heart. It's Jin.
Aw, that's nice.
I would also suggest Time to demote Shannon again.
Okay, so here's the thing. I think Shannon looked really hot with her sequin top and her crimped hair. She looked really hot in the flashback. However,
she fucked her brother manipulatively.
I do concede that she did not display hot behaviour in this episode.
Were you going to choose her as your top of the hot ranking?
I'm afraid so, purely based on that one scene where she had a little crimped hair and her sequin top. I loved that. That was a real look for her. But I hadn't really considered the fact that she also did some questionable things.
May I make a suggestion?
You can make a suggestion.
Okay, my suggestion is, because I was going to suggest to demote her.
Yeah.
And you were going to suggest to promote her. Shall we just let it be, it evens out, she stays in the same place?
That was going to be my suggestion.
So what's going to happen is I'm just going to write down the exact same list as before and then add Jin to the bottom of it.
Okay, great.
So I will repeat for you the hot list as it stands. Saeed, Sawyer, Sun, Charlie, Kate, Claire, Boone, Shannon, Hurley, Michael, Locke, Rose. Jesus Christ, how did Locke get on the hot ranking?
I think that was me.
Of course it was you. And so then adding to the list, Jin. But don't worry, he's gonna have so many moments to get promoted throughout the show. Yeah. The idea of Jin being below Locke in this list is an affront to human nature, but it will all work itself out in the long arc of the show.
In the long term.
By the time we get to season 6, the hot list is going to be so comprehensive.
And long.
That's our episode.
Don't forget, you can follow us on socials. We're on Instagram at Dharma Fish Biscuits Pod. We are on TikTok at Dharma Fish Biscuits. And if you have Lost-related questions or comments or feedback, you can email us directly at dharmafishbiscuitspod@gmail.com, and maybe we'll read your email on the air.
Absolutely. You can also leave us a review on the place that you're listening to this right now. You can leave a comment on Spotify. That's a feature that they have. Most of all, we would love it if you simply tell a friend, because that's how good podcasts actually spread in the world.
Our next episode will be out in 2 weeks. We'll be discussing episode 14, Special, and I'm very excited because I love that episode. And until then, I'll see you in another life, Helen.
See you in another life, brother.